So good evening to everyone and welcome to the first webinar from the Consulate of San Marino organized on the double taxation agreement. Today we have the privilege to have Alessandro Belluzzo. Is a barrister, is a degree in law, is a lawyer and a barrister, is a fiscalist, but is also a member and a manager director of the Belluzzo and Partner. And we have invited Alessandro as a person knowledgeable of the subject to helping us to understand better what is the double taxation agreement between United Kingdom and San Marino. After the webinar, Alessandro is going to introduce some slides, and then after there will be possibility for everyone to ask questions. I suggest that you write the question in the chat box that you can see here. The webinar will be public immediately after in our website. Also, the slides will be available to be shared, and also the details of the professionals and the barrister Belluzzo will be available to everyone to be shared. We would like to clarify that that is only a webinar for information. It's not consultancy. We are not giving advising on fiscal point. We are just talking about the double taxation agreement. I had the privilege to know Alessandro from a long time, so I don't want to waste his time, but I want to say thank you, Alessandro, for being with us. Thank you for helping us to try to understand what is the double taxation agreement between San Marino and United Kingdom. I leave it to you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Maurizio, who is a friend, first of all, and well-respected industrialist, and also today I represent Consul San Marino. So thank you very much, Maurizio, for having me here. And it's always a pleasure to spend and share time with you, Maurizio. And of course, for all the others, I'll try in my style to be very brief and very practical, talking about the new San Marino's framework. So I'll ask to share my slides, please, on the video that they will be also available to you later on. First of all, if you wish to relocate to San Marino, there is always a point that you should, first of all, make clear to yourself and to the people that are with you, either your family or your company and stakeholders. If you go to the second slide, please, that it's very important to understand the meaning of residency and understand the meaning of framework. So when you make a choice and you decide to move on and eventually relocate to a different state like San Marino, you need to inform yourself, like today in a webinar or using the channel, the institutional channels that are available, to understand what is San Marino about and why you think is attractive to you. First of all, on the main legal framework, San Marino is in the same regional zone that is in Italy, but it's not Italy. San Marino is not part of the EU and is not Schengen area, although, of course, it's surrounded by Italy and is quite central to the geographical position of Italy. So it's very convenient to move to San Marino and being from there in a position that you can enjoy both in resident San Marino and enjoy the Italian lifestyle as well and the premises. So becoming resident San Marino entails a few important points that are all in the recent as well legislation changes that have improved as well the position of San Marino internationally. But it's very important that you understand that you need a resident permit. Being not EU and Schengen area will be a permit just for San Marino, not for the use of the Schengen area, but it is important that you understand the rules to become a resident in San Marino. Otherwise, if you're not becoming proper resident in San Marino, you will not be able to apply for the San Marino rules and for the treaty between San Marino and the UK. So these are the main type of residency that we're going to through later on, the changes that will be afterwards. So if you move to the third slide, please. And then when you make a choice, a lifestyle choice, so by all means, when you decide to move to a country and relocate to that country, the last point should be tax. The first point should be why I'm going to that country, why I want to move to that country. Is there a particular kind of situation regarding the cost of living, the healthcare, the day life, the real estate, the accommodation? These are very important points that are almost, I think, and most important that you should take into consideration before any tax rate or any kind of slogan that you have seen or you have read about the country and what other people say about that country. It's important that you understand that the lifestyle in San Marino and what are exactly the cost of living can be suitable for you, the healthcare, and culturally where you're going to be basically living your life. And of course, how you're going to live your life and how you can purchase an accommodation or live in the accommodation, and the availability of such important point that a property might be for you to live in with yourself, family, and then important, of course, to run your business from there eventually. Once you have clarified that you think the framework of San Marino, the lifestyle of San Marino might be a good choice for you, then you should check with expert advice about tax implications for individuals moving to San Marino. First of all, San Marino offers several preferential tax regimes. There is one called atypical residency that they may elect individuals to pay tax at lower rates on foreign income, provided specific conditions. For pensioner, let's say for people that are entitled to a pension, there is another one that allows pension income to be taxed approximately to 6%. And income for local sources, other tax rules are in relation to employment and business and real estate. There is a specific domestic rule that applies in San Marino. 3 regimes are available in San Marino, allows you to apply the treaty, because if you are becoming resident of San Marino, you can apply then the treaty that at the moment is in force between the UK and San Marino, the so-called UK and San Marino double tax treaty. This will ensure reliefs from double taxation through system that are the credit or the exemption mechanism, depending on the nature of the income. But first and most important is that you are a resident of that country, San Marino, to apply that such a treaty. Once you clarify that you can be resident in San Marino, then you can also understand what are the investment opportunities that are available to you if you were to become resident in San Marino. For San Marino, there are different routes that are offered to investors, such as UK investors in this case. And with regard to property investment, there are potential possibility to buy a foreign national purchase residential commercial property that are available to you in San Marino through a process that is going to be, of course, very helpful to follow through the San Marino institutions. Then there are also possibility to invest and make a business establishment or an acquisition. This will allow you to apply for the San Marino corporate tax regime, which is a very competitive income tax, corporate income tax at 17%. That can be reduced to 8.5% for new businesses for the first 5 years. Then, as I said before, if you were to decide to move to San Marino, might be an important point to think about investing into a property. And there is an investment in real estate that is available to you that can also help you to become resident in San Marino for about typically 500,000 euros, or you can invest in bonds or specific local funds that are available to you. And this allows you to have this kind of investment in San Marino. It allows you also to become an investor in San Marino and get the residence in San Marino. The last one is with regards to the innovation startup sectors. Again, there are several options that are available to you in San Marino, and you can get some tax relief because they're either innovation or startup sectors. This investment environment is transparent and very business-oriented and can help you not only to make the right investment, but also to make the right choice when and if you were to decide to move to San Marino. So to summarize what we said before, when you decide to relocate or to invest in San Marino, you should have a very clear understanding of the legal and tax and regulatory framework of that country. In San Marino, to summarize briefly, the corporate income tax is 17%, but is reduced to 8.5% as an incentive for new enterprises and technological projects. Dividends, there is a withholding tax of 5% and may be reduced with a treaty. We're going to talk about this treaty relief later on. Interest, the same, 13%, may be reduced with the treaty. Royalties, 20%, may be reduced with the treaty. And there is also the possibility to reinvest profits designed to make improvements and sustainable investment, productive investment in San Marino that will also allow you to have a exempt deductible taxation or partial taxation on such investment. Of course, there are other points that we discussed before about residency investment condition with regards to investment or local employment or other kind of investment that we privilege fiscal and resident status. And last but not least, special tax regimes where there is a typical residency that is approved, that you will not be taxable on the foreign income, as we explained before. So I think these are very good examples why San Marino can be an attractive place to you. And where you are deciding to move from the UK to San Marino, of course, you should always check from the UK point of view and from San Marino point of view, so the cross-border issues, and whether you can move to San Marino, become resident in San Marino, and therefore being resident in San Marino implies as well that you are able and eligible to apply the tax treaty between the UK and San Marino. Why is this important to talk about these recent legislative changes and the treaty between the UK and San Marino? Why? Because San Marino, with these recent changes, have become more attractive to investors, to foreign people, and will help you to not only become resident, but also to have an investment opportunities in that country, San Marino, with the specific residency regime that you can choose, as we explained before. And you can make also an investment either in liquid asset or property. And this investment and the maintenance period of this investment will also allow you to become resident and a typical resident and to have some advantages to that. Overall, even if you were to go to San Marino to simply work in San Marino, become an employee in San Marino, you can have some specific advantages. And of course, San Marino will offer you as well advantages in regards with properties and property investments. And why not? They also thought about rental contracts that can often help you to get permits to be resident in San Marino. And if you show that there is genuine relocation intent, San Marino will welcome you as a resident in San Marino. And so therefore, you can apply the San Marino residency rules and the framework. And this will also entail that San Marino will help you to explain that you're resident in San Marino, will confirm you're resident in San Marino, and this will also continue the alignment with the international transparency standards of San Marino that has entailed. And this is a very important point in international tax. And today's topic, of course, is how is possible to apply for the UK and San Marino double tax treaty. It's possible because since November the 30th, 2023, when the treaty entered into force, San Marino has become much more attractive for UK investors, for UK resident people, or for UK business people that have investment in both countries, because it will allow for residents in San Marino from January 2024 to have considerably lower taxation on dividends. Remember that dividends without a treaty were taxed at 5%. There was the so-called withholding tax. If you are able to apply the treaty, and so if you are able to show that you're resident and you can benefit of the treaty between UK and San Marino, that 5% is reduced to zero. The interest and royalties that was 10% and 13% is reduced to 0%. Pension can be only taxed on the state of residency, so there can be a better tax treatment for you, capital gains, and of course, the elimination of any double tax and double taxation by a way of a credit or the exemption method, which is the truth soul of any tax treaty. So this treaty ensures not just less taxation, but clarity, prevent double taxation, and strengthen the relationship between UK and San Marino, but also strengthen the transparency of San Marino. These are all very important points for someone that either decide to relocate to San Marino or to invest in San Marino. To understand and to go through the practicality of a tax treaty, I don't want to go through this very technical, but very also normal consideration when you speak about treaties. Because when you speak about treaties, all the jargon that you have to learn and to understand is when you speak to professional people or to banks when they ask you question, are you the beneficial owner? Yes, I'm the beneficial owner. That means I have the benefit of being the owner and to receive the benefit of such ownership. Therefore, being the beneficial owner, you can ask for the beneficial ownership declaration to claim the treaty benefit. I just put this list for you to understand when someone approaches and gives you or asks you some question about this. What does it mean to be resident, dual resident? Being resident of a country of contracting state means that you're a resident of the country that has signed the treaty between UK and San Marino. You're either resident of the UK or the San Marino. So these are very important point that you should also consider when you think about making use of a treaty. Because a treaty is there, it works only under certain conditions, and these are some examples. And the benefit of the treaty we went through before, so I'm going to go just for a summary now on why I think, and the practical guidance for UK nationals, and why I think is important, and what are the means in practice for UK investors. So if you are a UK national and you want to move to San Marino, I explained before the criteria and the way that you can relocate to San Marino. And this is a summary of what you should prepare before moving to San Marino. First of all, you should understand whether San Marino represents your lifestyle choice, and then you can go through the advantages, the tax treaty, and gather all this documentation that I'm sure, Maurizio, you will be, of course, in San Marino, will be happily assisting anyone that wants to apply for this. But these are the assessment and what you should prepare, whether you want to go to San Marino or whether you want to review the cross-border taxation between San Marino and the UK because you want to apply the treaty. The last part of my presentation, 20 minutes, is what does it mean in practice for UK investors? For UK investors, potentially for UK individuals or businesses investing in San Marino, the new framework allows you to get a reduced or zero withholding taxes, as explained, because of the treaty, a clear capital gains allocation, depending on what kind of asset are you going to own in San Marino or in the UK, a simplified pension taxation regime, the elimination of double taxation, as I said, because of the treaty, and certainly a much better, greater legal framework because of the alignment with the OECD and the treaty. And this is a very important point when you decide to relocate or to invest in that country. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm available for your question.
So thank you, Alessandro, for your presentation. So in the time that if everyone wants to make any question, raise the chat box to allow the question. So I want to give you the time to reflect what Alessandro have just introduced. I want to say thank you, Alessandro, again for your fantastic presentation. Just a quick question before we move in. Can you explain what does the difference between what you say there is a two method how you can apply the double taxation agreement? One is via credit, the other is exemption method.
That depends on the source of income that you're talking about. So some incomes are either taxed in the country of source, so at source we say, so maybe it's taxed in San Marino, and you receive a credit against the income in the UK, or vice versa. A UK income is taxed in the UK, you receive a credit in San Marino. Or other incomes are simply exempt, so they're not taxed in one of the two countries because of the treaty, so you will pay only one country, for instance, capital gain tax.
So the exemption method is something that you have to ask? No.
No. Is basically part of the treaty. Mm-hmm. If you can apply the treaty, you can say, because I'm resident in San Marino, I have an asset in the UK, I can apply the treaty, so my capital gain eventually is exempt in San Marino, and I pay capital gains only in UK. Vice versa, if I've been taxed in UK for my income, then I'm resident in San Marino, I can say, but I already paid income in the UK, so give me the credit for whatever I paid in the UK, so I credit in my income tax return in San Marino, and vice versa.
Clear. So we have a question that is, the agreement is entitled to include the provision of tax, evasion and avoidance, and mandates the mutual exchange of information between the UK and San Marino tax authority, for example, HMRC. What are the key compliance challenges for individual and entitled with the cross-border financial interest now that a formal legal framework is a place for informational exchange?
Yeah, so any treaty that is considered OECD compliant has such provision. Any treaty has a provision to the mutual exchange of information and how the two countries they should handle this exchange of information if any issue were to be occurring between the two countries of residency or taxation of any particular income or capital gain. So this is actually is a positive way to handle compliance and international cross-border issues, because bear in mind that the exchange of information is everywhere. The exchange of information is based between the country of residency and the other countries, and having a treaty will allow the two countries to have a better relationship and to protect the interest one to the other. And I think this is a very good example of San Marino moving to transparency and to apply the international recognized transparency regimes.
Thank you. Can you help us to understand better the last point that you have just explained? So a lot of time in the newspaper and Economist, for example, we have been seeing that they've been judged this treaty as a favor to United Kingdom to San Marino. In reality, the treaty double taxation agreement is to support and to help even the UK government, the UK HRMC, because now with the treaty, the HRMC has got some title to asking information to San Marino. So can you explain the importance of the double taxation agreement from your job point of view?
First of all, a treaty is signed by two countries, and it's mutual agreement. So meaning that both countries, they have agreed to the treaty, both countries, they will have an advantage because of the treaty. And as I said before, the advantage is also that both countries, they can now speak one to another through the common and mutual provision of that treaty. Normally, Article 25 of any treaty has these provisions and says that the country, they can speak one to another following the procedure of that treaty. This helps the relationship between the two countries and is not a matter of tax, but it's a matter of confidential agreement, capacity to trust one to another, and making sure that there is a stable relationship between the two countries, and the investment that one or the other country makes in the other country is monitored, is stable, and is transparent.
Thank you. There is another question for the San Marino double taxation. Conventional provide for 0% withdraw tax of interest and royalty and reduce tax on dividends down to 5% or zero in certain circumstances.
Then again, it's quite normal that these kind of provisions are available in such treaties. It's down to relationship between the two countries. And for sure, the two countries wanted to create this favorable withholding tax provision to help investment between the two countries. And if an investment is made on and creates dividends or royalties in this regards, will help the other country or the investor of the other country to make a more long and lasting investment, because he has a word that will be taken into consideration because he made the investment. So I think this is helping the countries, the two countries, the UK and San Marino, to not only make investment, but to strengthen the relationship and to find opportunities between the two countries to invest one into another.
Thank you.
Of any treaty that you can see, what is important that the treaty follows the OECD model, and is standardized and is recognized.
What are the key things you would like to communicate to the UK business about the double taxation agreement? Businesses, especially small businesses who aren't aware of the agreement or who do not currently do business in San Marino. What is really the main point of this double taxation agreement, Alessandro, in Europe?
Again, I think this is more for the San Marino, the UK business and civil servant question, but I can say from my tax point of view that I think they should promote this because stabilize the relationship between the two countries, and small businesses who aren't aware of the agreement, they should be aware of the agreement because helps the small businesses. They want to make an investment to have a better deal than making an investment in another country. And this helps the fact that they can make an investment last and will have some also extra benefit than making investment in other countries. And it's not only about tax, but also, I'm sure, about that San Marino and the UK will help the investor because of the treaty to make sure that the investment will last.
Thank you, Alessandro. Just a few other small final questions before we are going to adjourn this webinar. And I would like to say thank you again for your time and for your expertise, for your background and for your family expertise. By your opinion, as we mentioned, the double taxation agreement is a mutual benefit for the both countries, United Kingdom and San Marino. What is there is any peculiarity, or is it just a standard agreement that the double taxation agreement between the two countries? By your experience with so many double taxation agreements that you have seen.
It's a very good and standard and well-written modern agreement that is done to help the relationship between the two countries. And the fact that there are tax advantages that are normal, the reduced tax rates on the dividends and the royalties, the interest, I think is just the first step to help the countries to have a better relationship. And this also should help if San Marino, in case, will enter the EU, because then someone that becomes resident in San Marino will have not just the treaty, will have the resident permit in San Marino, but then also the Schengen permit. And as I said before, being San Marino not part of the EU yet, you don't have a Schengen, a visa, but once, and if San Marino will be part of the EU, you will also have a Schengen visa by investing or by relocating in San Marino. So I think it's a very good opportunity.
So you mentioned a very important thing. San Marino is negotiating, San Marino has negotiated, and San Marino has approved to join as an affiliated member of the European Union. The Commission should have approved that agreement in principle in the next few months or early next year. What is going to change as soon as that agreement is going to be in place? Is going to change anything on the double taxation agreement, or the double taxation agreement has independent life?
The double taxation agreement has independent life from the fact that whether you are part of the EU or not. Of course, being part of the EU will have other consequences in tax and other stuff that either are VAT or other points that you can mention is about it depends what kind of agreement San Marino will have with the EU, but can be free good states and free movements and less red tape. Can be the Schengen, of course, because you are resident in San Marino, you can get the Schengen permit visa. And so you can get the permit to be freely moving around Europe, being resident in San Marino. But the treaty won't change itself because of the EU membership.
So thank you. Thanks again for also this clarification. So the double taxation agreement is on life. Whatever is going to happen in the agreement with Europe, the double taxation agreement between United Kingdom and San Marino is still alive, still create its own.
As much as the other agreements between the UK and the other European countries after Brexit, they remain valid. And in fact, we rely now most, and I think entirely, on the tax agreement between the countries, the UK and Italy, UK and France. So, and it's a very good and modern and very well-known way to rely on the treaties, because the treaties, they've been there forever, for some example. So is the best and the most important and probably recognized way to trade and to have a relationship with the two countries.
Alessandro, you made a clear point, considering that the double taxation agreement of San Marino, in some case, is considered to pay the tax are payable only in the state of residence. So basically, if a British citizen is resident in San Marino, for some of the tax, for example, pension tax that is not coming from state pension tax, is going to be paid only in San Marino.
Yeah.
And that means that it will be taxed to 6% according by the treaty.
Yeah.
So and that will be straight away. There will be no sort of...
If HMRC recognize the treaty, recognize that you are resident in San Marino, and therefore you can apply the treaty, and you present your tax certificate that you are resident, you are beneficial owner of that pension, you have to make the application to HMRC. HMRC will take the decision and most probably will apply the treaty.
And that is quite normal on the double taxation agreement. That
very normal, and because the rules are there to work.
And what is the benefit of let's say, the sender country, if we say in that way? What is the benefit of United Kingdom on this double taxation agreement?
That will have the same benefit as San Marino, because on the other side, if people go to live in the UK from San Marino, they have the same kind of benefits for some income. So there is always a mutual benefit. But the most important thing and part is that there is a mutual path for investment to stabilize the relationship between the two countries, to make sure that between the two countries, if there is any investment or any movement of people, of capital, is monitored and is incentivized by the treaty.
So we can't say without any doubt be disconfessed that a double taxation agreement is also very important for anti-money laundering. So also for policy that they are helping to stop anti-money laundering or to stop illegitimate transfer of money from one side to the other.
100%, yes, of course.
So double taxation agreement is necessary, in particular, to help the country to have a proper conversation between the two countries, but also proper share of information.
Exactly, a mutual understanding, a mutual cooperation in these regards. For money laundering, it's very important that the two countries, they can speak through the channels and the open channels of the treaty, and they will have a better cooperation in these regards for sure.
So, Alessandro, I really want to say thank you for this opportunity, for your time. And at least there is any other question from the floor, what I just would like to asking you if there is anything else that you would like to edit on. One final question is hypothetically 100 British acquire residents in San Marino, while only 6 San Marinans acquire British residents to the purpose of the treaty. How this agreement would be mutual? So they say that the problem would be...
I don't think the mutual is based on the number of residency. It's based on the fact that the rules are common. The relationship is based on the transparency and cooperation of the agreement, and it's down to the people, to the investor, to make the choice whether to invest or not, or whether to move or not.
So, and also the benefit of the fact that the country still to be able to share information between another country in an open way, and to avoid that there will be avoidance of tax or risk of tax haven, that is thanks to the double taxation agreement, in particular to help the country, like in this case, United Kingdom or San Marino, to avoid that their own platform, their own bank, their own system will be used to avoid taxation. That is because double taxation agreement treaty doesn't mean to avoid taxation. It means to have a clear understanding how is the game.
On the contrary, it means that there will be a modern way to handle investment and eventual income capital gains royalties between the two countries will be monitored by the two countries. And if any advantage is to be given, they need to apply to receive that advantage. And therefore, if the advantage is being given, there must be a good reason. The good reason is that you can apply the treaty, and therefore the two countries are positive, confident, and content to apply such relief.
So again, thanks a lot, Alessandro. Thanks to Professor Belluzzo and lawyer and barrister Belluzzo for this fantastic opportunity to explain what means double taxation agreement, what is the benefit of double taxation agreement between San Marino, United Kingdom, why they are so important in particular in this modern time, in this modern era, which they are helping the country to be close, to sharing information, and also give a clear path for people that want to live in San Marino, they want to live in United Kingdom, how to apply and to be taxed only once and fair taxation. Alessandro, I want to say thanks to you again, thanks for your support, and see you on the next webinar here. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye.